Hello there, I'm Bella Merlin and I'm an actor and the author of several books on acting, including Acting the Basics and Konstantin Stanislavski, part of the Routledge Performance Practitioners series. And today I want to look at the idea of how do we quickly learn a piece of dialogue if, for example, we're doing a self-tape for a piece of television or film. And I'm just going to run through 5 points really that might help you access text as swiftly as possible when you might not have an awful lot of time in which to do it. The first thing is obviously the character breakdown. Now, this is going to come in two forms. It may well be the casting breakdown that the casting director has sent you, and whatever description might be on top of the script when that character enters the scene. And sometimes there are clues that you can get from the casting breakdown that may not be in the script, and vice versa. So it's always worth bearing in mind what both of those sets of information are giving you and how they're prompting your imagination. So the first thing you want to know, of course, is who am I? That's your starting point for getting inside what the scene's going to be about and how you're going to learn it. Then, onto the script. The very first thing I always do is look at the basic given circumstances that the script's given me. And if we're talking about television and film, there's three really crucial things that I find help me understand what the atmosphere of the scene's going to be about. First of all, is it interior or exterior? We behave differently if we're inside or we're outside. Is this a very private scene that's happening in the middle of a market square? Or is this a very public speech that's being given in a courtroom or in a conference environment? So each of those will give us a bit of information. And then the next obvious one that we'll always get is it day or is it night? Again, we behave differently. Think what you're like at 7 o'clock in the morning and then 7 o'clock at night. Think what you're like at 3:30 in the morning and 3:30 in the afternoon. So instantly, just by going, are we inside or are we outside? Is it day or is it night? We're starting to prompt the imagination. The next is, what's the point of view? Or is this a voiceover? Is the camera seeing through the eyes of your character, or are you actually off scene, out of frame? Because both of those will also give you some ideas about the role, the significance of your character in this scene. If it's their point of view, then obviously they're driving the scene. If actually it starts with their voice off, it might be as if you're in the wings stepping into the center of the stage. So both of these may seem just little details of the cinematographer, but actually they're going to give you huge bits of information about what your function of the character is and what the particular vision the audience is going to get of the appearance of your character, either through their eyes, point of view, or a voice off, or they're seeing you there in flesh and blood. The next thing I always do is break the scene down into beats of action. You know, it's funny, I sometimes call it bits of action, I sometimes call it beats of action. For some reason, when I'm looking at film and television, I tend to call them beats of action, because the first thing I want to do is find the rhythm of the scene. How big is each chunk of action? And what I'm doing when I break down a script into its beats of action is, once I've unlocked the rhythm, which will be an emotional rhythm, it'll be a narrative rhythm. Is this a very fast, dramatic, action-packed scene? Or is it a revelation scene where something quite important about the character's psyche is going to be revealed? The length of those beats of action is going to help me access that. It's also going to help me find the moments of decision. It's so interesting once you start to break a script down into its beats of action, how many moments of decision you can unlock. And because for film and television, most of it's going to be, or significant moments are going to be quite close up, it's amazing how a character's moment of decision can be picked up by the minutiae of a thought flashing across your head or a change in your eyeline or something like that. So this is another really important thing that's going to be discovered through breaking it down into beats of action. Ultimately, these beats of action are going to help you unlock the character's thought process. I find if I don't do this work and really unpick the thoughts the character's going through, the moments of decision the character's going through, how they're responding to the text that's being given to them, I don't even know how to begin to learn it. Um, I was never very good at just learning things by rote when I was at school. I have to understand why. Why would I say that? Why would I do that? And really, ultimately, that's what the beats of action are helping you do. The next thing I do is take a really intricate look at the language that my character is using. I'm looking for the syntax they use. Do they speak in questions? Do they speak in exclamations? Do they finish a whole thought? Do they have long sentences, short sentences, lots of little phrases that accumulate? Again, this is going to tell me how their brain works, what their thought processes are. Then I'm going to look at the punctuation. I've just said it really. Are they talking in exclamations? Are they talking in questions? Do they finish sentences? Are there dots, ellipses, or are there slashes where they're being cut off by another character who has something they think is more important to say? So the punctuation is going to give me insights into their frame of mind and how they construct their thoughts. I'm going to look for repetitions. What I'm really thinking of here is how words get recycled by different characters. So I'll do this text analysis on all the characters in the scene, whilst ultimately I'm just trying to learn my line so that I can get my self-tape done. If I can see where a line, a word, an idea is being threaded through the whole scene, that's going to help me learn my lines swiftly in order to get the self-tape done. The final thing I look at is actions. Some of these are going to be scripted into the script itself. So they could be physical actions such as cracking his knuckles or sharpening the knife or something equally dramatic, or something very mundane, putting the silverware in the drawer. I don't know. Now, for your self-tape, you don't necessarily need to be doing all these specifics, but again, they're going to give you an idea. Cracking his knuckles tells you something about the person. Putting the silverware in the drawer tells you something else about the person. I want to see what the clues are that the scriptwriter has put that's going to say something about the atmosphere of the scene, because my aim is to learn these lines as swiftly and as embodiedly as I can. Some of these actions might be scripted in, and I'm calling them emotional actions. Eyes wide, or weeping, or gasps, or thoughts tumbling. Again, it's not necessarily you have to do it exactly, widening the eyes at that moment, etc. It's giving you an idea of the atmosphere of the scene, but also the thought processes of that character, but also the overall timbre, style of the piece, especially if you're doing episodic or something that's already had a couple of seasons, so that you can begin to see how a story is told through tiny details, such as something like that, or the bigger sweeping atmospheric choices about the season or the series. Some of these obviously goes back to the language, are going to be verbal. This is a little example. Just want to take this phrase, best of luck. This was actually a line in a self-tape I was working on last week. And I just want us to think for a moment how the rhythm of best of luck is different from good luck to you or good luck with that. There's something about the monosyllables of best of luck and the succinctness of those three together. I would say that when I'm looking at any script, I actually use the same kind of detail and precision that I use if I'm doing Shakespeare, because ultimately my aim is to learn these lines as swiftly as possible.